I'm going to do this video to give you the inside baseball on what's really happening with law offices and the practice of law, particularly in the state of Florida. I don't know exactly what's happening across this country, but I can tell you in Florida, there has been a seismic shift in the way the law office works and how the legal practice is being practiced, and many people are completely unaware of it. This video is for consumers especially, so that you understand what you're interacting with now when you're dealing with law offices, but also for judges and those that are involved in the system, because there's a lot of mystery out there, even on the part of judges and frankly other law firms that don't understand what's actually happening out there. And the bottom line is COVID broke the law firm system. COVID broke the legal system. The world can be demarcated in two different times. The first is pre-COVID, and the second is after COVID. And pre-COVID, law firms were exactly what you saw on TV. Ally McBeal, LA Law, all those things that depicted in pretty accurate terms what happens in a law office. Law office is a high-touch environment. You have got to have lawyers who are in direct contact with support staff, who are in direct contact with the phones and everything that's happening around them, because everything that we do is based on facts, not hearsay, not what somebody else said over there, not what somebody did over there. I, as the lawyer, have a license. I've got a responsibility for absolutely everything that happens in this law firm, what everyone says, what everyone does. And the only way you can keep your hands on that is that you're in a high-touch environment where you can see what's happening, where the doors are open, where you're listening to the phone calls. That's the only way you get a sense of what's happening. Well, COVID comes along and everybody goes running home into their caves, into their bunkers. And, it went on longer than we thought it was going to. But during that time when lawyers and our staff and judges were hidden in bunkers, the practice of law fundamentally changed. And in large form, we lost the idea that we as lawyers need to have our eyeballs on and need to be listening to everything around. And let me give an example of just how dramatic things was. So a couple of years ago, I got called to a hearing down 2 hours south of here. And it was fascinating because the courthouse that used to be filled with people, it's actually Lee County. And Lee County had this big courthouse complex downtown. And I've been down there many times, and multiple floors, lawyers running all over the place. Again, just like what you see on TV. Well, here we are on the other side of COVID. Court was open, and it was completely empty. It's just ghost yard. Hardly anybody in this huge building. And as I sat out there, I saw the other lawyers that were on the other side, and we had talked on the phone, and you always make this chit-chat, small talk, and it wasn't until we got back in there, and the judge says, so why are we here live? Why are we not doing this remote? And the other lawyers over there said, well, Judge, we've never seen the inside of a courtroom, and we wanted to see what a courtroom was like. And I'll never forget the look on the judge's face as he just kind of looks over at me, and he says something like, well, I'm sure Mr. Widener appreciates the opportunity to drive down here, and the fact that you guys weren't local either. These guys had driven over from Miami. But it was a fun moment. It was an interesting moment. The idea that these two lawyers had literally never been on the inside of a courtroom, and they wanted to. I got a big kick out of it. It was kind of fun. The judge had a kick out of it as well. But that tells you what's going on in the practice of law. One other tiny little anecdote, and that is I'll talk to lawyers on the phone that are COVID lawyers, we call them. These are ones that have never seen a courtroom. They were in law school during COVID, or they came out of law school after COVID or in the middle of COVID, and they literally don't know what it's like to be inside a law office or be inside a courtroom environment because they're all just remote or hybrid or whatever. But that's when the law system broke. And I remember months ago, thicker into the outside of COVID, trying to hire people to come into the law firm. And the reality is that the foundation of the law firm ain't the big fancy lawyer in the suit and tie and all that sort of thing. And it ain't the judge, sorry. It's the support people. It's these men and women who dedicate their lives to serving lawyers, serving judges, and supporting it. And they're just extraordinary human beings because their job is to process information, to take all of our little thoughts and bubble it down into something that I can rely on, that can be trusted, that's accurate. And the dedication of these people is extraordinary. I've got people that have been with me for 10, 12, 15 years. Once you get a hold of them, you hold on to them tightly. You don't let them go. And they likewise embrace you. And they're the cornerstone of any good practice. You cannot have a law practice. You cannot be a judge unless you've got people behind you that have your back, that you trust, and that you trust them. And that's who these people were. So years ago, I'm trying to hire somebody, and I remember calling the services, the employment services, and they flat out told me, if you will not allow hybrid work, that means you're working from home, then we have no one for you. I said, no one? We have not a single candidate that's in the secretary assistant pool that will be someone that will come in live. And I will tell you that I just made a decision right then and there. I'm not hiring anybody if you are saying you're not coming in. And yet that's what's happened in the practice of law. So here's where it's broken. Fast forward to 2026. As lawyers, we are propositioned all the time, every day, by all of these services that are telling me that I can hire a lawyer for basically minimum wage, a licensed Florida lawyer that is operating out of some third world country. And we're seeing it over and over again, and it's a huge model of employment out there where, because this hybrid deal and things online, lawyers, and I assume they are, I mean, they affirm in these applications and whatever that these are legitimate actual lawyers that are working hybridly. They just happen to live in Brazil or Mexico or wherever else like that, and they're the ones that are actually doing it. And it's I guess it's a business model that for some people could work, but I don't like it, and judges don't like it, and I don't think it's good at all for the practice of law. I guess some of the high volume stuff that are pushing papers along, I guess they get away with it, but to do good quality work, you need people in the offices that know what it feels like, what it sounds like, what it smells like, what your clients are, in order to do the work well. So that's 26, where half the people that are doing these jobs aren't even in the law offices. And, we're still doing these Zoom hearings, and I've been on a couple of them, and the way these Zoom hearings work is, judges sitting in the center, and it's like family squares, and there's, 15, 20 people that have called in there, and they're all sort of stacked up on the right-hand side of the screen, Smith, Jones, blah, 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 blah. And it turns out some of these people are from out of the country because they just got the Zoom link and they popped in for Smith v. Jones. But another troubling thing, and the judges are really trying to figure this one out, how do I determine whether or not Mr. Smith that's on there is actually a member of the bar? There have been some notable examples of sitting in hearings when someone pops in there and judge gets a spidey sense that Mr. Smith there ain't a real lawyer, and lo and behold, Mr. Smith ain't a real lawyer. I've yet to see one that's like an AI avatar there, but I'm afraid that's coming. But the bottom line for the consumer is this. When you're hiring a law firm, you want to understand what's happening in these law offices. You got to understand how much work is being pushed off offshore. That's bad enough. But even worse are these practice models and these services that are out there that are trying to sell lawyers on the concept of having AI bots do all the stuff. Kid you not. I've called into law offices that I've dealt with for years, and I want to talk to a lawyer. I got to talk to Mr. Jones. We got a hearing in 2 seconds, and I got to get a hold of him. And it's a damn AI bot that's going, welcome to the law offices of da-da-da. I'm here to help you. No, I want to talk to the lawyer. But literally, the law firms are now using these AI bots that are fielding these phone calls. It's bad, bad news, and it's going to get a whole lot worse. So for you as the consumer, you want to be working with a law office where the lawyer answers the phone. I have a limited practice now because I will not take cases unless I can hear the phone calls in this office is ringing in my ears. It's the only way you get a sense of what's going wrong. If I hear a secretary that's screaming or getting heated or something like that, it puts on speakerphone. That gives me the situational awareness, and it's the only way I'll have situational awareness because there is a much higher incident of bar complaints. A lot of this has to do with not having good client communication, and a lot of this is going to increase because they're not even lawyers that are handling this stuff. So you got to be working with a law office where you actually talk to the lawyer. You're not put before different layers of AI, God forbid, or people offshore. It's a lawyer directly that you're dealing with because at the end of the day, at the top of the pyramid is going to be one person standing in a courtroom with your case. And the more layers you have in between your case and that judge, the worse off you're going to be. So, judges, you're getting increasingly savvy to this stuff. You're looking at the pleadings, you know it ain't right. You're looking at the people calling in, you know it ain't right. We got to get back to the concept of where there's a captain of the ship, one person responsible for everything. I remember the good old days when a judge, even on these big firms that had, 15, 20, 30, 100 lawyers working with them. If they really wanted to get a law firm's attention, they would bring in that named partner, and that named partner would be in there in that judge's office in person to explain what's going on. How's that going to work in the world where the lawyer is actually in Brazil? How's that going to work when the little lawyer that was doing it or caused the trouble was AI? The answer is isn't. So that's what's going on the inside of law firms.